வணக்கம். இது ஸ்டோரிஸ் வித் செல்வி. உங்களுடன் தாமரை செல்வி.
வணக்கம். இன்னைக்கு நம்ம கேட்க போறது சஸ்பென்ஸ் நிறைஞ்ச ஒரு இங்கிலீஷ் த்ரில்லர், Havoc Says Hi. வாங்க கதைக்குள்ள போகலாம்.
Chapter 28. The Match. My school was famous for the sport events in its locality, especially football. Now it was football season. An inter-school sports competitions has just begun. I was sitting in a bench at the corner of the stadium along with the substitute players. My seat was vigorously shaking as the nervousness from my fellow substitute players were making the big bench tremble. Everyone was biting their nails and watching the game, waiting for their turn to enter the field, if that might happen. I was there sitting against my own will, but still I enjoyed the day. The excitement I derived from observing the footballers from the other schools play was overwhelming. Not that I would call myself good at football. My dad was completely responsible for my being here. He believed I had the spark in me to become what he failed at, and here I was a substitute. Every day I had to watch everyone practice and kick balls. It bored me like hell. I didn't think today would make a difference. Today was the finals between my school and the Don Bosco, who were the current title holders. I had been the substitute for all of this season, and I was the only guy who had never entered the field even in a single game, even to clear the field. My dad got tired of seeing me in the substitute place, so I asked him not to waste him time seeing me sit in the bench. Coming to the game, we were not the best of all the teams. It was by sheer luck we made it to the finals. Rajiv, one of the strongest offensive players we had, was attacking the defense of Don Bosco, who seemed to be pretty much confident that they would steal the ball from him. The defense closed in on him. It was a crazy situation. 3 Don Bosco boys crowded him and none to pass the ball. Rajiv began to play with the ball, moved it between his legs, shuffling back and forth, distracting those 3. As they neared him with the intention to tackle the ball out by sweeping his leg, Rajiv kicked the ball to the left corner of the ground area near the goal. No one would have expected Sudarshan, a short, plump boy, to move fast as lightning to handle the pass, and he was left to deal with the sweeper, who was the last line of defense left. Sensing the pass, the sweeper began to encircle Sudarshan and signal the goalkeeper to keep his senses alert. Our team runners did a pretty good job of restricting the movements of the other players by distracting them and interrupting their way of path. Sudarshan had to do another pass and finish the goal, or to take the risk and move inside and do the goal. The burden weighed heavy on his shoulders, and it reflected in his footwork as he began to wriggle. Before he would lose it, he pulled all his courage and moved forward and flicked the ball past the goal line. Our first goal was welcomed by the crowd as their cheering and applause began to overwhelm our coach. He showed his thumbs up to us, showing his pride. The referee blew the whistle as the halftime was over. Rajiv and the other players came back to the locker room to get some refreshment. I followed them. "Rajiv," I called at him. He looked at me and reached for his glucose. "I really liked your game. You're a master at it," I said. He smiled without saying a word, but I could feel. "I know it already. Tell me something different from that smile." "But did you see the 3 boys who crowded you? The one in the right end, he was a bit clumsy. He was very nervous and he was tapping his legs all the time out of nervousness. Even if you had kicked the ball to him, he wouldn't have handled it. He would have passed it back to the other boys or goalkeeper. So you could have..." I began to speak confidently as I pictured everything in my mind. Everyone who was inside the locker room began to crowd around me as Rajiv sneered at me. "You're giving advice to me on how to play?" he sarcastically said. I began to feel something at the back of my neck as I felt humiliation. "Have you ever touched the ball ever? I have never seen you in the field and you come to tell me what to do?" He began to laugh out loud, tapping the next boy's shoulder. As he picked the signal and began to laugh, others joined him. Coach walked inside our room hearing the laughter and gave me a wicked sarcastic smile. He was satisfied with his best players. I know this would happen, but I wanted to do something to help my team. As the 15 minutes break was over, everyone moved back into the field. It was the next and the final half of the match. My seat was there for me waiting in the substitute bench. I tried to forget what had happened inside the locker room. Something unexpected happened in the match. There was something different in the field. The energy level of our team began to drop for some reason or the opposite side had gained over a lot of confidence. Within the next 10 minutes, Don Bosco had scored a 2-1 and began to lead that match in their direction. My team began to struggle under the tremendous pressure built by Don Bosco's performance, trying to get a chance to tackle the ball. Rajiv and Sudarshan, who were the star players of our team, were trying to live up to their illusionistic fame. The ball was under the hold of a strongest boy in the enemy's side. He moved into our defense line. Rajiv thought it was an opportunity to tackle the opponent, but I knew it was not. He tried to sweep the other player's leg and he was partially successful as a strong boy had to give up the ball but tripped and fell over Rajiv. The fall was unexpected, and Rajiv played his hands on the ground for support. The sudden shift of his body weight on his right arm snapped it. Rajiv wriggled in pain. He was taken to the medical support room for first aid. Now, the game was not favorable for us. My teammates' face showed signs of frustration and disappointment. Our coach walked towards my bench. His perspiration was widespread throughout his forehead, covering the baldness of his head. "Vijay, get in," he called me. "Sir?" I doubtfully asked, but coach's eyes turned cruel, and he stressed on his last two words, "Get in." I had no other choice except to enter the field. 25 minutes of the second half had already been passed, so it was just 20 more minutes, and our coach knew there was no hope and got ready for the losing. That was the reason why I was standing in the field. Referee blew the whistle and the team began to change their formations. I was made to take the defense position, center back. A boy from the other end began to break through the offense and entered in. There was something which was happened to me at that time. A sudden flash crossed through my eyes. It was just for a nanosecond, but from then on, I saw everything in slow motion. The boy who came before me with a ball, he was charging at full force at me. At the rate of speed, he entered. It would be hard for him to divert the ball from its course. If I tried to sweep him, I would end up like Rajiv. So I let him pass through, and once he went all the way through, I let my leg in the wide gap he had between his legs and pulled the ball back. It came off without any friction. It was a crazy move, which was definitely not from the books, but it worked. I looked out for someone to pass through the ball. Since no one was there to take it, I moved inside the enemy line. Sudarshan ran towards their field and stood on the right side corner of the goal area. I was suddenly interrupted by the sweeper. Sensing the pressure, I moved the ball a step forward towards him and turned my back to him and passed the ball to Sudarshan. Since my move was executed under blindfold, the sweeper delayed 2 seconds already to understand what had happened. Within those 2 seconds, Sudarshan sent the ball soaring to the goal, scoring us 2-2 and keeping us in a tie. And 10 more minutes left to decide who would be the winner. Suddenly, the world around me changed. My coach waved at me with all the energy he had. The team looked upon me like a superstar. Though I didn't feel like one, but it wouldn't be bad to be one too. So I enjoyed the moment. Referee blew the whistle and the ball moved to the other team's feet. Ignoring the current position of the ball, I moved deep inside the Don Bosco's field. 3 boys followed me, trying to cover me. Taking advantage of the lesser pressure and scattered enemies' players and our own team's better play, my team took over the ball and flicked it towards me, which I took it with my chest and began to shuffle between legs. Every movement was practiced in my mind but never played. But when I executed all those moves, I played at the pace of an expert. I felt like I owned the field. I could control each and every aspect of the field. 2 more minutes to left to finish the game. The 3 boys around me tried to restrict my movement forward. I had to pass the ball backwards, but I didn't think I had enough time. So I did something crazy for any sane person. I looked at the Don Bosco guy who was standing before me to the right. He was average build and his eyes showed signs of nervousness. I passed the ball at him and at the same instant moved a bit closer to the next guy standing. The moment the unexpected happened, he tried to pass the ball to his team member, unable to understand what just happened. I intercepted the ball in mid-air and drove it to its goal, and it all happened right on time. Sudarshan jumped over me. I crumbled under his weight. I pushed him away and ran towards the center of the field, where all my team members came rushing towards me. The crowd didn't expect a world-class match in a school ground, but it happened before their eyes. I looked at the cheering crowd standing in the stadium. My eyes moved through the crowd, skimming the reactions. My eyes met the ones which stared right through me. It was the eyes of Eshwar's grandfather. We were 50 meters far from each other, but I felt he was right in front of me. I shook it and turned towards our team. And when I turned back to see him, he was not there.
இந்த பதிவு உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்ததுன்னா மறக்காம லைக் பண்ணுங்க, ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க. என்னோட பதிவுகளை உடனுக்குடனே தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்காக பெல் பட்டனையும் கிளிக் பண்ணுங்க. மீண்டும் அடுத்த அத்தியாயத்தில் சந்திப்போம். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.